welcome to the Galactic Wild West podcast. We have a very special episode today with a very special guest, Nicholas Wallen. He's an amazing guy. He's been working for all of his life on solving world hunger and other humanitarian problems. Really smart guy. Really happy to have you here, Nick. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great, Louis. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here, and I'm really excited to talk with you today.
Dude, yeah, I'm really excited too. We have a great topic today, so we're going to jump right into it. We're going to talk about astronomy and the tax system. Why don't you start off by talking to us a little bit about what you think of the current tax system in the United States?
Well, the current tax system's pretty messed up, in my opinion. The federal tax plan lays out a code where those who are making the most money are going to be paying a higher significance of their portion of money towards the government, and those making the least amount of money are going to be paying a much smaller portion of that money. However, the issue is when it comes to the different state tax code systems. They have blanket portions of money and income that is going to be spent specifically on the government and their taxes.
Yeah.
So the person making $1 million is only paying 10% of their paycheck to the government, and the person making $50,000 is still paying 10% of their paycheck. I'm sure you can see the disparity between the two numbers there.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. I do think there is room for improvement in the tax system. My question to you is, why would we take money from astronomy specifically, which has a very small percentage of the tax income per se, rather than big players in the tax system like the military, for example? What's your response to that?
Well, I would say that I think we could take money and redistribute it towards more beneficial organizations in the government, such as things like the VA clinics, Medicare, and Social Security. Different organizations that were created and are still around today in order to help those who are oppressed by the government and the systemic oppression that is rampant throughout, really.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point. Also, I wanted to mention that even though we're putting money into astronomy, it's also indirectly benefiting the local economy of the places that we're putting this money into. For example, if the TMT project was to take place in Hawaii, if it wasn't for the Mauna Kea conflict of interest between faith and science, it would be a really big boon to their economy. And I believe that a lot of people would be employed, and it would boost the tourism in Hawaii. I would think it would be a really good thing. What do you think about that?
Well, I agree, and I definitely see the upsides of the economic boom that it would bring along with the tourism. I think that there's just no way we can discount the depth of these people's faith and the connection that they share to this mountain. While we might see one perspective, or we might see all perspectives, or more than one, really, they might only see their perspective. It's all they've known their whole lives. They've always associated and held this mountain in such high regard, and they feel that it brings them closer to God. So I think that's something that we just kind of have to accept, and we need to find a way to increase big astronomy, but not step on the toes of people like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think we should find a middle ground between faith and science, and that would allow for this economic growth and also all the technological growth that can come from these types of things. I bring up the story of Tycho Brahe, and when he got money from the Danish king and an island, the amount of technological innovations that came from that, like the entire system that we use today to look at planets and figure out their size and location, that was all from putting faith and money into the concept of astronomy. And there's also modern innovations like lens technology that helps in the medical field. What do you say about that technology?
Well, I definitely think humanity's come at a tremendous rate from where we were even 100 years ago, an exponential growth of a technological boom. I raise you this. You're familiar with the concept of the Mars colonization, right?
Yeah.
Imagine, say, maybe 5-10 years from now, we start our first colony there, right?
Yeah.
Do you think there's really any reason that the systemic oppression and other forms of oppression and corruption within our government would not persist there on Mars?
I think they would, and I think it's definitely something we need to work on, but if we're not ready now, then when will we be ready? Yes. I believe it's kind of engraved in human nature to have some sort of conflict and everyone's always gonna be looking for their own interest over others. It's a pretty hard thing to remove from humanity. I think it's definitely something we should
There's
try to do.
Definitely steps we could take there.
Yeah, but I feel like there's not really gonna be a certain time or date where we're like, okay, everything's solved, now we can look up. I feel like if we do both of them simultaneously, that would be a really good thing. I think that's a whole other conversation we could get into.
We'll get into that for sure.
Yeah, that could go for a long time, but I think this is a good note to end the short version of the podcast. We're going to be having a long form of this conversation that'll take probably about 3 hours, so please stick around for that.
Good day.
Subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for being here, Nick.
Of course, it's been
Great
a pleasure.
conversation. Great to see you as always. Thank you guys for watching.